Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Mem Dalid Amid Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom. The Gemara continues his discussion on muktzah. What about an object that is not itself muktzah, but is given a designation? Does that make it muktzah or not? Says the Gemara, Omer Rav Yehuda Omer Rav, Mita sheyichda lemos also letaltlo. A mita, a bed which is not intrinsically muktzah, says Rav that if a person gives it a designation for his money, thereby it becomes muktzah to metaltel. Ask the Gemara, Mosiv Rav Nachem bar Yitzchok, metaltel ner chodosh aval lo yoshon. We learned in the Mishnah previously that a person can metaltel a ner chodosh and not a ner yoshon because muktzah machmas mius. After all, once you use a ceramic, an earthenware ner, it becomes disgusting. It cannot be used to then store other things inside of it. Whereby, here it says the lashon ner chodosh is yes metaltel. There's only a ner yoshon that cannot be metaltel. That means that a ner chodosh, even though you're designating it for your ner to be lit for your improper, your muktzah usage, here it says that you can go ahead and metaltel it. The Gemara goes on to say, Uma ner de lahachi avida, ki lo hilik bo shoyleteltu lo. A ner that is made for this purpose, to light with it. If a person did not light because it's a ner chodosh, still we say that it's muter metaltel. That means that even though there's an intrinsic designation, nonetheless he can still metaltel it. Mita de lav lahochi avida lo koshekin, a mita which is not a muktzah item, but you just make a designation that's going to be used for your money, either to store your money or to place your money on top of. That's certainly not going to then make it muktzah that you cannot move the mita subsequently. So says the Gemara, Eli itmar hachi itmar. Rather, if you want to say the statement, then you have to say it like this. This is what he meant. Omer Rav Yehuda Marav, mita sheyichida lemos, hiniach alea mos, also the title. If you did 2 things, tarti lireusa, you first not only designated it, but you also put money on it even before Shabbos, then it has now a mita of going to be a mita that's used only primarily for muktzah, whereby on Shabbos it is something that you cannot metaltel. Lo hiniach alea mos, muter metaltel. Even if you go ahead and were meyached, but if you didn't put money on it before Shabbos, then certainly it's not going to make the bed muktzah like we proved before from the kol sheken. Lo yichde lemos, yesh alea mos. Also the taltlo. If you did not designate the bed for money and you put money on the bed, then it's also the taltlo because it has money on the bed. It's now a bossis. Ein alea mos muter letaltlo. But if it doesn't have money on it, so then since you didn't miyached it and you just put money on the bed, so then once there's no money on the bed, therefore it's muter letaltlo because you only were miyached it. That's not good enough. So long as it didn't have money on the bed throughout Ben Hashmashos. Because if it did have money on the bed Ben Hashmashos, then we say Migu di iskatzoi Ben Hashmashos iskatzoi lekula yoima. Once it was designated, it had now a muktzah. It was set aside during the Ben Hashmashos because now it was a basis for a davar that's aser. Then it remains throughout the entire Shabbos to be also as a basis, even if there's no longer the money on top of the bed. Omar Ula Mosiv Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer asked the following. Muchni Shelo. Here we're talking about a Mishnah in Kalim. The Mishnah in Kalim discusses a Muchni. A Muchni is a wheel. If we have an object, let's say a shida. The shida is a box, and you have 2 wheels that go on the fore end of the box, one on each side. So it's almost like a wheelbarrow. So thereby you can go ahead and push this box. So it says over here in the Mishnah, Muchni Shela, the wheel of this box, Bizman shehi nishmetis. In a situation where these wheels are easily taken off, they can be removed very easily. So then that means that the wheels themselves are not considered to be intrinsically connected to the box, whereby it's not considered to be one kli. It's a separate item. Says the Mishnah to explain, Ein chibur lo. It doesn't have a chibur together with this shida, with this box, whereby if the box became tameh, if let's say a sheretz touched the box, and the box was not arboim so it was makabel, the tumah of the sheretz, it doesn't make the wheels, the muchni, to be tameh. And vice versa. If the muchni becomes tameh, it doesn't make the shida to become tameh. Ve'ein nimdedes imo. This shida is not measured together with the muchni. Therefore, if it's going to be only arboim saw together with the muchni, it's not considered to be arboim saw that whereby it will be tor and not be kabel tuma, because it has to be arboim saw on its own, not together with the muchni. The Mishnah goes on to say that if you have, here's not talking about the classical oil hameis, but rather it's mahil, meaning to say that if you have a shida that is arboim saw, and it is on top, let's say, of a mace, so then it will be separating the tumah from them going up, whereby it will not become tameh, and the muchni itself, however, will not be nitzal, and therefore the muchni is not going to be considered part of the sheda, and will yes be kabel tuma. The Mishnah goes on to say li'inyanenu ve'ein gorin oiso b'shabis, and you cannot drag the muchni, the wheel, on Shabbos b'zan sheyesh aleh mos, when it has money on top of it, because it's now a basis, a davar ha-muktzah, davar ha-osir. Diuk, that's the Mishnah. Adkan the Mishnah. Now the Gemara asks from this Mishnah the following diuk: Ha-ein aleh mos. But if the money falls off from this muchni, from this wheel, sharia, then it would be permissible, because it no longer has the money on top of it, so you can go ahead and drag the wheel. Even though it was there on top of the wheel, the entire ben hashmashos. So the Gemara is asking a kasha. You just said earlier that when it comes to the bed that has money on it, if it has money on the entire time of ben hashmashos, then it becomes aser no matter what during Shabbos, even if the money falls off the bed. You can no longer now metaltel the bed because it was a basis. The davar ha'aser became muktzah already ben hashmashos also for the rest of Shabbos. Yet over here, when it comes to the muchni, even though I had money on the muchni, the entire ben hashmashos, if that money falls off sometime during Shabbos, you can go ahead and drag the wheel. Answers the Gemara, Hahi Rabbi Shimon hi, the Leslei Mukta. This Mishnah that says when the money comes off during Shabbos, then the muchni could be dragged, that's according to Rabbi Shimon, who doesn't hold migudis katzoi leben hashmoshois, is katzoi lekula yoima. And therefore, when again the money comes off, and a chanami, it can now be used, the muchni can be wheeled, can be used. V'Rav, Rabbi Yehuda, really. Whereas Rav, who taught the din of the mita, holds like Rabbi Yehuda that there is a din of migudis katzoi, and therefore, since it was a basis, the mita had money on it during ben hashmashos, for the interim of ben hashmashos, then we say migudis katzoi le ben hashmashos is katzoi le kuli yoima. Hachanami mistabro. And this is also mistaber to say this way, the Rabbi Yehuda Sfir, that indeed Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda in this manner. Take a quick look at Tosfos, that Tosfos on the first, Tosfos on the Amud, Hochinami mistabro de Rav Yehuda Sfirle. It is mistaber, it makes sense to say that Rav holds indeed the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, not like Rabbi Shimon. Bekama mukaimois eshkechon, we find many places so far in the Masechet Shabbos, the Rav Sovek Rabbi Yehuda, that Rav indeed ascribes the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, the Aser Mita Sheyichda Lamos, like we saw, that he is Oiser, if a person is going to designate a Mita for Mos, that was the opinion of Rav, V'yaniach Alea Mos, and he placed money inside of it, and it has Tartil L'Reuso, then it becomes Muktzah. V'il Rabbi Shimon Shari, whereas Rabbi Shimon argues and it says Mutter. Because Rabbi Shimon is matir chatzoisros. There, the Gemara over there, I think Daf Lamed Vav, said that when it comes to shofar, Rabbi Yehuda says it's mutter to metaltel because it can use as a flask, whereas chatzotzros is osir, whereas Rabbi Shimon says both shofar and chatzotzros is mutter. So you see that Rabbi Shimon holds that you're more maker when it comes to muktzah. Afilu toka kama zimni, even if you already blew it before. Udecharchi, this is another place where we find that when it comes to muktzah, there were three actually arguments on Daf Yud Tes Amud Beis in regards to muktzah between Rav and Shmuel. The first argument was shemen umachzoilos shel badodin. There I was talking about where there is an oil press and you have leftover shemen or you have leftover machzeles mats. So there's a machlokes in Rav and Shmuel. Rav says it's muktzah and Shmuel says it's not muktzah. A second machlokes over there is called karche de zuzah. He brings over here. Karche de zuzah means it was also like a mat that was covering up merchandise on the boat. So there, Rav again says it's muktzah and Shmuel says it's not muktzah. And the third case over there, where you have many different instances of like an aiz that is made, that is already designated for its milk, or you have a rochel, a sheep that's designated for its wool. So Rav says it's muktzah, you cannot go ahead and shecht it on Yantif, whereas Shmuel says it's mutter. In all those cases, the Gemara said Rav ascribes the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and Shmuel ascribes the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, whereby Rav is more machmir when it comes to muktzah like Rabbi Yehuda. So Tosafos says, if that's the case, what is the Gemara saying over here? If we already know many places that Rav indeed holds like Rabbi Yehuda in muktzah, he's machmir. Ela deboy la'achuche desovek Rabbi Yehuda b'migu di'iskatzoi ben hashmoshos. Here, what the Gemara is coming to do is saying that Rav ascribes the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, not just that he's machmir in regards to muktzah, but specifically in this scenario of migu di'iskatzoi leben hashmoshos, we say iskatzoi lekuli yoima. Says the Gemara, back in the Gemara, the Omer Rav, how can we prove that indeed this is so? Because Rav said, "Menichen ner al gabe dekel b'Shabbos, ve'menichen ner al gabe dekel b'Yontif." A person can place a ner on a dekel tree before Shabbos and light his ner on this tree. Ve'menichen ner al gabe dekel b'Yontif, whereas he cannot do that before Yontif. So, Iyam is bishlama de Rav ke Rabbi Yehuda svirulei. If you want to say that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, then it's very well. Hainu de shani ben Shabbos liyont. That's why he makes the distinction between allowing one to light a ner on a dekel tree before Shabbos, but not before Yontif. Why? Because since he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, that's going to be muktzah not only ben hashmoshos but throughout the entire Shabbos. Migut iskatzoi. Thereby, he's not going to come and move the ner, whereby he'll be then mishtamish mechubar and use the tree, which is an iser d'Rabbanan. Whereas for Yontif, since on Yontif it would be mutter to go ahead and metaltel a ner, so therefore you'll be apt to then moving it and being mishtamish b'mechubar. So therefore, he makes the distinction between lighting a ner on a dekel tree before Shabbos, which is osir, because you're not going to go ahead and move it on Shabbos, because migid satzoi, versus before Yontif, which you would, and therefore he says you cannot light the ner on a dekel tree before Yontif. But if you say that Rav ascribes the opinion of Rabbi Shimon in regards to migud satzoi, then Mali Shabbos, Mali Yontif, why would he make a distinction between lighting a ner on a dekel tree before Shabbos versus lighting a ner on a dekel tree before Yontif? In both cases, it would be osir, since you might come to go ahead and then move the ner on Shabbos, just like you would on Yontif, and then you'll be mishtamesh b'mechubar.